Maybe you want to go to Golden
Please stop talking. Thank you. So these announcements have been up. I'm going to quickly run through them. Serve with YServe, instead of stadium cleanup, you got to sign up for service hours. You see the email or the link in the email. You didn't get 5 cans. It's 1 service point. It's not like if they bring 10. It's 1 max. You're topped out. The STEM after school program is the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month at 3:45 p.m. It's a service point. You're procrastinating those. Please come to these activities so we don't have to deal with you guys talking about how we gave new opportunities when there's plenty of opportunities. This Saturday, there's a BYU football watch party. It's at 8:15 p.m. Real quick, if you want to or plan on coming, will you raise your hand so we just kind of know if there's any interest? I like that. Okay, so on November 15th, there's also a field trip to the Old Olmsted Dam. You need to bring your driver's license. Not really sure why, but you need to. There's an ITE forum with WW Clyde on the 15th as well. It's at 5 p.m. What time is the field trip? Does anyone know? It's at 2. You got time to do them both, right? Yeah. Then there, on the 15th as well, at 6 p.m., there's the faculty versus students volleyball. It's at the Smith Fieldhouse. If you ordered a polo, please go pay for those and pick them up. They look like this. This is their color. And then for other service activities, there's an adaptive aquatics Fridays at the RV pool from 11 to 11:40. And then other activities, we still have concrete canoes, Still Bridge, and the Erie Club. Are these the same? Yeah, these are still just the same announcements as before. They're just prettier. There's the Vector Engineering Info Session. It is today at 12 p.m., so if you don't have plans after this class, go to that and get free food and learn about vector engineering. Here are some networking tips, jobs, and internship search information. Am I supposed to run through all these? Okay. You need to develop and maintain relationships with those that you network with. That way you can stay in contact with them and keep up so that they know how you are developing as an engineer. You need to let them know what you're looking for in a job or internship. You should familiarize yourself with the industry you want to go into. So if there is something that you're interested in, you're willing to learn about that and seek out people in that field. You need to be open to a variety of opportunities because even if you have an interest, sometimes that might not work out for you, so have backup plans. Start your job search through a variety of ways. Look online, Google search, Handshake, the engineering office. Cast a wide net by applying to many positions. You're not going to get the first one that you apply for, so apply to many. If you don't have a job and are close to graduating, job searching should be your full-time job. Because you should probably work afterwards, so you're a useful citizen. Follow up on making connections at each organization. Yeah, okay, I'm done. And now I'm going to introduce Cliff Hokinson. He's sitting over there. He's going to speak to you for the next hour. He is a civil engineer with a background in mechanical projects. He worked at a machine shop through college that produced projects for International Space Stations and the Hubble Telescope, so he's very smart. In the 1980s, Cliff began working at HHI Corporation. They build projects for the military. In 2011, him and his wife, Regina, purchased the company, and in 2014, they moved it from Farmington to Ogden. He spearheaded HHI's long list of projects performed for various military customers. It's known for their performance on complex and unique projects. They've built military support facilities, chemical testing facilities, and maintenance stands for various military aircrafts and specialty fabrication projects. They've done projects for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Department, DEA, U.S. Army Special Programs Divisions, and several foreign military allies. Some of Cliff's projects were the precast at the Salt Lake City Library and paving at the Air National Guard at the Salt Lake City Airport. And now we're going to turn it over to him.
All right, can you hear me okay? Good, got some thumbs up in the back. All right, so I'm supposed to be entertaining and also informative, right? So you guys get to judge me later, see how I did, okay? Maybe I'll get to come back. What does HHI stand for? Good question. So really it stands for nothing, but we have 3 core values. That's a good question. So honesty, hard work, and innovation. So if you think about those 3 things, that's kind of how every project or everything we do kind of is based on those 3 core values. And I'm going to walk around a little bit and make people nervous. I remember I had a professor once, and we never sit in the front row because he'd spit on us. So watch out. So let me give you a brief idea of what we do. We're a construction company that we do a lot of design build projects. And so we've been working for the federal government and now a lot of foreign governments for about 47 years. In the introduction, we're going to talk about our area. We bought 54 acres up in Ogden. We have about 100,000 square foot of manufacturing buildings and office buildings that we take care of. There's 135 people work for HHI, which is we're growing, we keep expanding. Our footprint is going across the country, and we've been in several places. I'll kind of give you a quick, that's kind of boring, but we work for a lot of clients. We do construction and manufacturing. It may sound weird, we're talking to the American Society of Civil Engineering Group. I'm actually a member, I'm a civil engineer by training. However, I do a lot of weird projects, and we'll kind of get into that. This is one of our projects we've got going on. This is one of our buildings, manufacturing building. Does anybody know what's sitting inside the building? What is this little thing right here? LA Metro train. So we have an LA Metro train sitting inside of our building. Because we're doing a weird project I'll talk to you about a little bit later. So we do some odd projects. This is our team. They're actually standing, this is one of our facilities. They're actually standing on an F-16 maintenance stand that we designed. So we designed maintenance stand. This one, I believe, went to Romania, and we were just load testing it. We're supposed to have 3 people on there. We put 35 people just to make sure we had a factor of safety. Okay, but this is one of the reasons that people like our maintenance stands. They can put a lot of people up there. The aircraft would go. You kind of see the painted line right back here. This is just the front part of the stand. So, kind of moving forward, this is kind of history. A long time ago, my mom and dad, they basically started the company 47 years ago and built a lot of stuff for the federal government, some cool things. And what we did a lot, my wife and I bought the company in 2011, and this is actually us cutting the ribbon for our new facility in 2014. I wish the picture was a little different because my dad was standing over here. My grandpa was right behind my big head, and that's my son. And my wife's standing somewhere over there. We all cut the ribbon. We had 4 generations. My grandpa actually was the first executive, or first vice president of HHI. So a little history. We do a lot of things. I wanted to kind of show you the family side. This is one of our day where we can share with our kids and our families what we do. So we had just an activity day up at our company. We do Lagoon Day. This is kind of a little bit about us. Look at that. These are some of the places where we've worked. Chile, Australia, and a couple countries here, Romania and UK. And then we work around the United States, pretty much cover the United States from coast to coast. Now we're going to talk about some cool projects. So everybody here is a civil engineer or going to be a civil engineer, is that correct? You studying? So who likes structures? Raise your hand if you like structures. Kind of got that inkling for structures. Okay. Who's a geotechnical? Soils. We got a few in the soils a little bit. What about air quality? I know that's more of the environmental side. Anybody on that? Boy, it's lost everybody. Okay, so we don't care about the good air. Okay, so well, you guys are down here where the air is all socky in here. I got it. All right, so let me tell you about this project. So we've got a building. It was a design build project for the Corps of Engineers. They wanted just a simple building, and they wanted to be able to maintain this gun. It's called a Gatling gun, and it goes on the A10 Warthog. So it's about 10-foot long barrel, 7 barrels, and shoots 100 bullets in 1.3 seconds. and it leaves a hole in the target about like this. So just for fun, they decided that they wanted to put one inside of a building, because what they had to do in the past, at Hill Air Force Base, they would work on the gun, and then they would take the gun to the west side of the desert, out where there's nothing, and they would shoot the bullets into a big sand trap. Okay? Geotechnical guys hear what I had to say. So they shoot into sand. So they wanted to do an indoor shooting range. So technically, shooting indoor, it's never been done before. What do you have? Anybody structure, so we have a lot of pressures from the gun going off. Actually have fire going down, supersonic pressure waves hitting the walls, and a couple little things that I had a design around. We decided we'd try to figure out, we got the job, and then we had to figure out how we could build the walls in our budget. So anybody wants to do cost? I'm a cost engineer. Civil engineers a cost engineer. Because a wall that's this thick costs so much. A wall that's about, let's say, this thick, is it going to cost more or less? A little bit more. So our preliminary engineering came back after we went out and shot this gun out on the West Desert. And one of your colleagues here at the BYU, the acoustic department, we borrowed some sound meters from them, and some from NASA, and some pressure meters. And we went out to the West Desert and we shot off this thing and found out that we budgeted a 12-inch concrete wall, and we need almost 36 or better wall thickness with concrete to take care of the pressures. So that's one way to go bankrupt real fast, or you start getting creative. So everybody has a muzzle. You know what a muzzle is for a gun, right? Or a silencer. Takes the pressures down, gets rid of some of the noise. By the way, the noise was so loud that the people couldn't work in the shop because it was just too loud. So we decided to build a silencer. So how do you build a silencer? Talk to somebody, you put tires in it, you put a whole bunch of stuff in there. So we built a silencer in here and made it all explosion or fireproof. So this is fire-treated plywood, and inside here we used rock wool. We came up with this cool design. We decided to go out to the desert, and we shot the gun. And you know what happened? We decided we better go back and start over again, because we had our silencer kind of blew up. No one got hurt, but it was one of those things we decided. It was concrete pipe, and we used concrete pipe. It was too rigid. We decided to change the concrete pipe for tires on chains inside of a little box, and we got rid of most of the pressures. On our second design, we went and tested it, and it took our pressures down from what would lead us to a 3-foot thick concrete wall to, it doesn't matter anymore. You just have to support the weight of the roof. That's pretty cool, right? So, I know I'm getting into details. Now, who's the geotechnical? Raise your hand again. All right. So what kind of material would I use to shoot a bullet into? Anybody? Something soft, right? This is going to take, right? Is that okay to say something soft? So loose travel was what we decided to do. Guess how we figured out how long we should have for the range? Anybody got a good idea? Right on there. Close. We shot a whole bunch of bullets into the sand that we had in the West Desert. Shot multiple rounds. They've been doing it out there for years. And we decided that the right way to go figure it out was to be like a paleontologist and start cutting the soil. Every time we found a bullet, we knew we'd have at least that much soil, right? We got to the last bullet, couldn't find any more. What do you do after that? Put a factor of safety in there, right? Because we're aiming towards South Weber. The people down there, they don't like bullets in their houses. So we decided factor of safety of 2 was good. And what's interesting is we were right on the money. They've been using this for, I think, about 10 years. We've done the cleanout where we've gone and cleaned the soil, tried to find the bullets, found that we had plenty of room. That factor of safety was right on the money. Anyway, cool stuff. Let's go to that. What's the gun work? How was it? 100 bullets. So 100 bullets, pretty fast. We were using ceramic shells. So I don't know if you guys know the difference, but they use uranium-depleted cells. They're basically hollow core. They basically call them ink busters because the gun comes down and shoots holes through it. We weren't using those. We're just using ceramics. That's why our factor of safety works for our soil, or our pea gravel back here. Pretty cool. So we did some cool stuff. I thought I'd lie you with one cool project. But here's one that's kind of fun. So about 6-7 years ago, I got invited back to be part of a group we do chemical and biological containment facilities. This one they wanted to do chemical containment, and they wanted a robot to walk in a chemical suit so that military soldiers, we could figure out if the suit was functional. Basically prove that this suit works. So here's the cool part of this project. There were a bunch of teams that got brought together. Our team was supposed to just build the basically containment and also provide a little turntable so that the robot could be turned and they could put wind at the robot from all different directions and would introduce a chemical, and the chemical would be detected by a whole bunch of sensors inside of the skeleton of the robot. When we won the project, we do a lot of design builds. We won the project as part of a team member, and there were like a whole bunch of people, different companies. One was known for producing sweat and heat that they could test, because when you put sweat and heat inside of a suit, it performs a little different than a cold suit. So you have to have it at normal body temperature and sweating. One of the companies was a sensor people they were going to come up with some sensors to recognize what chemical it was and get it to recognize it so fast that they'd have real-time notice. When we got the contract, the best anybody was able to do on the chemical, basically, finding what the chemical was, it took them about 24 hours to do the testing. But they wanted it in real time because they wanted to test it. So they had to come up with some weird stuff. And then the hydraulic people, Boston Dynamics, they had made DARPA robot that was a 4-legged robot, and they had to take a robot and make it walk with a size 10.5 shoe without losing balance. Never been done in the history of man. So this $43 million robot was invented. Everybody put their stuff inside of it, sensors and everything else. He did learn how to walk biped. You see him on this turntable. There's some tethers on him, because when he falls, you drop a $43 million robot, people get mad. In case the software goes wrong, Microsoft doesn't quite work right or something, we didn't want him to drop. He does crawl, he does walk. His hands are not complete digits. We had to have him hold the gun, but he didn't have to pull the trigger. That was some of the requirements. So pretty cool project. We get involved with it. Ours was the air containment, so that's why I've asked, does anybody care about air quality? You guys don't? Well, we don't let the chemicals go out to kill people, because we kill several people. So that's the robot. This is something else that's kind of fun. So we got involved a couple of years ago. You guys heard about Ebola. Everybody heard about Ebola? It's a chemical, or it's a disease, right? And it's very predominant in Africa. Well, the State Department wanted to get our doctors and nurses home in some type of a containment what would not fail inside of a large plane, such as the C-17, a C-5 Galaxy, or a Russian Kormanov, that's the big plane from Russia, or even ship them home FedEx. So that's a 747E plane. So we won a contract to design and build a project. We had 6 months to do the project. We had to come up with a new way to do a seal on the door for air pressure loss. That's never been done. And basically, when we're all done, we won we're number 11 on the R&D awards for the country for 2016. So kind of hit our mark. We're building 2 of these for the Democratic Republic of Congo right now. What it is basically a container that has air containment that keeps the biological hazards at the highest level inside here, no matter what happens with the pressure drops. And we can put, on the one end, we have doctors and nurses that are completely, they can be in normal gear, no protective equipment, and then they can don on some clothes in the middle of the chamber, and then there's 4 patients back in the middle. And so we can bring 4 patients back from anywhere in the world. So kind of cool stuff. You guys thought I was going to talk about something fun. Who's building a concrete canoe? Anybody? My concrete canoe is a little bit bigger. We built this building, and we can actually make it float on the Great Salt Lake. So 15,000 square feet. The soil is so bad that if you look at the pressures, if the lake floats up, if you disconnect the utilities and plug the holes, you can float it. Pretty cool, huh? And also there's some cool, it's a bird refuge up in Brigham City, just north of where we're at, we're in Ogden. And we did all the earthwork, or all the bird displays and stuff. We had a consultant help us out with that. All right, so a couple of things. We do a lot of military work. This is up at Hill Air Force Base. This is one of an older building, building 225. You see these little barrel roofs? Well, in the middle between this barrel roof back here, we set up a bridge crane for F-16 program. The F-16 program is going away, but they're still using the cranes. We're reconfiguring it right now for F-35s. And on this end of this building, we're building some bridge cranes for the F-35 plane for them to do maintenance on. This is a really ugly building. We build ugly buildings. This was just a premier metal building, really small in scale. The government, in their wisdom, decided that they wanted to put a full-on chemical weapons testing facility in this little building. To make it all work, we programmed a little bit of mechanical space, mechanical equipment on both sides of it, and we put a few things inside. This is an 8 foot by 8 foot chamber where they do all the small scale testing of tents and chemical suits. The robot is for conventional chemical warfare. This is for the stuff that hasn't been invented yet. There's about 5 or 7 different cocktails, I'll just use that word, cocktails that are out there, that are chemical weapons that are being used by all the people, the terrorists, and there's no testing of the facility until we just finish installing this, where they can actually test the chemical, this concoction, against the suits that the soldiers are wearing. So kind of fun. This is a $27 million facility. In 1 square feet, we were putting in about $1,000 per square foot in the facility, which, if you're doing any cost estimating, you almost can't do that much. It's really expensive. But when you look at everything and the controls on this facility, if we let 1 drop of this stuff go out, we would kill 100,000 people. So air quality is important. The mechanical systems are robust, and we had a lot of testing. We tested the facilities, we made sure it worked. Once we were done, we tested the valves, we made sure everything worked. And once we turned this on, we had battery backups, generators, and everything, because once it's hot forever. Does that make sense? You guys know what hot means? Chemicals been there, and you don't want to walk into this facility. This is the glove box that basically where they process to get all the chemicals in to where they can disseminate it. And then in this cool chamber, there's a skin inside of a skin, and we had some distribution systems that we could distribute and spray some cool cleaning agents, I'll just say that, to clean up the chamber so it's clean for the next one. Technically it should be clean, but we consider it hot because we don't want anybody to go in there. Does that make sense? Now, I don't operate these facilities. When we're done, we have no punch list. We never want to go back. Could you imagine going back into this? Full gear? No, thank you. I did get offered once by the colonel that I could go and they'd put me in all the gear and they'd let me go into the chamber and they'd spray the chemical. And I thought, are you going to put me in there? We're going to negotiate. Your price was here, Cliff. I want you to go down to here. Whatever you say, I'll do it for free, you know? Just don't cut my suit. I don't want that. All right, so I'm moving on. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, this is about 10, 12 years ago, we were building all these hangars for the Air Force, and the people in the Air Force said, we want to make this a little bit easier around the plane. So we started building maintenance docks or stands for different planes. This is actually the First Lady's plane. It's at Scott Air Force Base, and we designed and built these stands that would they actuate up and down, and they're very lightweight. They move into place to allow the mechanics to get around the plane. So it's more of a structural need. This is all aluminum, which is very difficult to work with, but really nice because it's lightweight. So it's a little different than what you normally get into if you're a structural guy. This is the C-17 stands. We won a contract for building C-17 stands at McCord, Washington. Built one. They liked them so much they bought a second set. And since then, we've sold about 9 or 10 different sets. This is in Australia. This one's in the UK. I think I know. This one's in Australia, UK, Australia, and then I have no idea. There's so many places. Fun places to go. So we actually ship these. Have to get them so that they stand with these modular. Puts inside of a Connex, and we ship it in Connexes or shipping containers on a boat. When it comes back, or when it comes out, goes through, and we open it up and we put it together. So it's kind of fun. This is a C-130 airplane. We do hard docks. This is actually for a complete retrofit. So this one's made out of steel, and there's some sliders, there's some things that move around to allow access for the dock. And just for giggles, we do a little bit of mechanical system to distribute cool air for the mechanics that go through that little hole or that little hole to work inside the wing. So want to make sure air quality is always nice. These guys, they don't have to wear a respirator now that we put the system in place. I'm trying to give this towards the professor that's he's an environmental engineer here, so I want to make sure he's happy. Okay, so here's a cool project, building on wheels. Anybody built a building on wheels? So this one's a fun one. This is a building on wheels, and the reason why it's on wheels is inside, so I got to explain what it is. This is a bunker. It's about half a mile away from the building. This is the building. This is the blow-up of one of the buildings. There's another building right here and one here. And these buildings are on wheels or rails, and we move it out of the way so we can test a rocket. Why do you test rocket motors? I don't know. But the government wanted to test rocket motors. This is an old building. We've had to fix it a couple times. We've just upgraded all of their sensors, because when they shoot a rocket off, they're testing it for heat, they're testing it for a whole bunch of other things. And if anything goes wrong, they want to be able to press a button. And we have a big fire suppression system, so anybody in fluids, we throw water on this motor to put it out. So, kind of fun stuff. Here's the rocket motor once the building's out of the way. I found this on YouTube, so that's why I could bring it to you. So you imagine, they want to shoot that rocket off in the building, so you kind of see the building slid to the side, because that would make a big mess of the building. Everything inside that building was a big piece of concrete, and the concrete would actually, what happens with concrete when it gets hot? Do we know? It what? Say it. When it gets hot, it does what? It spins rapidly. It actually pops. So we had to put steel plate on the concrete and epoxy it in there so the concrete wouldn't just fall and crack. So here's something for you. I'll tell you how to make $1 million real fast. Figure out how to do concrete, and figure out how to do it where you could land an F-35 with the engine blowing onto the tarmac. As soon as you figure that out, you don't have to work any longer. Because no one can figure it out. But we have the new aircraft that's supposed to do that. And they have the new paving requirement for the Air Force that we're supposed to have all this perfect pavement that's supposed to handle something like that on the concrete without blowing up or creating FOD. You guys, FOD is foreign object debris coming back up and being sucked in the engine. It's not been invented yet. They're still trying to figure it out. Different aggregates, different types of something. One day, hopefully you guys will figure it out, because we haven't got to figure it out yet. There you go. Master thesis right there. Figure that out. You got a job. So we build cool buildings too. So this is Camp Williams. Camp Williams is just at the point of the mountain. We're doing a shoot house, and what it involves is basically a range This is actually a repelling tower we're putting in, but it's a sniper range. There's a range, and inside the building there's actually a building, and they go in with the rubber bullets, and they basically do this training where trapdoors open up and a whole bunch of other things. It's kind of a cool building, but the soldiers will run through it and shoot up. That's what they call shoot house, and basically practice inside of a building. So it's kind of fun. Let's go to the next one. So this is a project we're currently doing. This is another project we're doing. We're doing some, I told you about airfield paving. We're doing airfield paving. This is right on the runway. There's a whole bunch of buildings at Hill Air Force Base. Some of them were existing. And Hill Air Force Base won the contract to house about 78 a new F-35 and the new, so that's the new plane. And with all the support, that's great. But they won it because they had a whole bunch of buildings and they didn't have to do much to provide new buildings or hangars for the F-35. So their program was to take some of these buildings and take some of them down and put new ones up. And take some of them, there's one, who's the geotechnical guys? So imagine a building that's been up since 1945, and the engineer said, oh, the footings aren't big enough. Okay, well, we're upgrading it, right? But it won't even hold up to a wind load. Well, for some reason, I believe we've had like 120-mile-per-hour winds since 1945. And the building was still there. But according to the engineering, it doesn't work with the new codes. So the engineer came up with an idea and said, just hold the building in place. It's a hangar, it looks like this, it's right down here at the end. So hold it in place, take out all the old footings, and put helical piers in, drill anchors. Do you guys know what those are? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So it's just basically a shaft, and there's a helix on the end, maybe 2 or 3 helix. As you drill it in, you get strength for pushing down, and you get strength for pulling up. They're great. You tie it into a pile cap, you put footings in, anchor bolts to the building. So pretty simple idea. And with helical piers, they're really small, so you get some small equipment, little mini excavators, and you can put those in inside of a building in the corners. So basically what we did is we basically shored the building up, held it in place, drilled the piers, put the piers in, poured the foundations, and tied it back into the building. And also, for the end of it, the F-16 is this big, and the F-35 is a little longer. So we had to extend our building. So we built 3 trusses that were 220-foot span and expanded out the building and put a new door out about 20 feet out. Does that make sense? So all these buildings are all the same according to the report. But this building that we're doing here is a remodel. I think it's kind of funny, remodel, because we left the concrete floor where the existing hangar was at and tore everything else down and put a new building together and around the old floor, and then here in 2 years, when the building's there, so they're going to tear out the floor and put a new floor in. But it's called a remodel. That's my lawyer version. I give you business law. So that's how they put this together. They called it a remodel. So we built this remodel. It looks like a new building to me, but we built this remodel. You guys follow that? Kind of fun. We're just finishing up, and we're doing the tarmac paving for the aircraft. And if you're into tarmac paving, I told you about the new thing. If you can get it blast resistant, it would be awesome. No one's figured that out yet. But one of the things you do is you put a drainage layer. This looks like asphalt, loose asphalt, and it allows for the water that would get down there to drain out so you don't get water pressures pushing up or doing anything underneath the tarmac. All right. So this is a new project we're doing over in Colorado. It's a battle lab, and there's a couple of things that are kind of fun. So we do design builds. Inside of our company, we assist the designers, tell them how we want to get it done. So we've come up with a budget. We usually work with them at time of concept while we're pricing it out. We come up with a shell of a building, how we're going to structure, we're going to do it, what kind of walls are we going to use, what kind of mechanical systems. We go through all that, kind of program everything, price it out, win a contract like we did here, and when we're done, we go ahead and start designing it, make sure it works. And we're in the design phase right now. We're about 65% through the design. This is kind of one of the fun things, the Secure Sensified Compartmentalized Information Facility. What is that? It's very predominant inside of the military. It's a SCIF or a SAPAC. There's lots of stuff, like on the F-35, you can't tell people what you're going to do. So even inside of a hangar for F-35, you'll have a small classroom, maybe like this, and we won't let the noise go outside of the room. Once we shut the doors, no one can hear us. Our information system, our intrusion detection system, and basically the access control, it's all going to be inside this room. We built large rooms like this or smaller ones so people can do the training. Whatever they're talking about, no one's supposed to hear. So they're kind of fun. We've been doing these for about 12 or 15 years. Pretty much every military organization has one or multiple rooms. Sometimes they'll have the whole building be a SCIF. You won't have windows because you can't have people seeing in. Just so you see some of those buildings, or inside of it you'll have just everything classified. So it's kind of fun. We build a lot of these. There we go. So one of the things we've done is we have a contract where we cover most of the country in the western and central region. We're contractors, so we get our money by winning contracts. So we won this contract which allows us to bid on multiple projects for the next 10 years. We cover the West Coast, which includes Alaska and Hawaii, and also the central region. And basically, the Air Force, they have a lot of need for those secure classified information facilities and runways and a few other projects with their fire suppression. And we're winning a lot of those contracts right now. Here's a cool project. Remember how I told you about that train we had in our building? That's the teaser. You had to stay till those guys that left are never going to know. Don't tell them. So at Fort Leonard Wood, which is in Missouri, there's a testing facility where the soldiers can put on their chemical suits, run in, and test to see what kind of chemical was on the floor, why are all these people dead, and then they can clean it up and move it out. They practice that type of work. Our soldiers use it, so all of the branches of the government, the Navy, the Marines, everybody uses it, and then all of our foreign allies also use this facility. Well, they wanted something. This is what it looked like right now. I don't know if you can see that picture. And they want it to be more real life theater is what they're looking at. So we're taking a building that looks like this, and each one of these rooms has a different feel. One of them's basically a little coffee and tea shop. Why? Because people conduct chemical warfare there, and they want to practice in that environment. Or they want to do a chemical facility where there's a whole bunch of barrels and stuff. Everything inside of the theater needs to be able to be wiped down and cleaned up. So what we're doing is we took a train, we bought it from LA Metro, something they didn't want, and we cut the wheels off, and we're putting the floor on the bottom so we can chemically coat it so that we can wipe it down when it's all done. And we're installing this for the next 5 or 6 months. Each one of these little rooms, we're going and putting all our equipment in. The train will ship out, I think in about a month, we'll ship it out to Fort Leonard Wood. And then we have some Humvees. And if you come to our facility, which you're always welcome to come up, right now you can see a whole bunch of junk. Half of a car, like a half of a van somewhere. What a van. They cut off the back because they wanted the back inside of here, but the front still stick up. It's in their yard just waiting to do something done with it. The Humvees, we cut half because they wanted a half over here, another half on the other side of the building or the room. And we come on different angles. But we had to put wheels underneath them to support them. And with our graphics, we're actually putting graphics on the wall to make it look like the subway continues, or this room continues. So it's kind of just fun, a little bit of artwork. Anybody have any questions? It's pretty cool stuff, huh? Weird stuff. This is us doing hamburger fry. I don't know why I put it in. Pretty fun. So, as a company, we like to have we like to enjoy ourselves. We do a potluck about once a month, on the first Friday of the month. And this is part of what we're doing. We actually go skeet shooting out in the little pond. Just skeet, not ducks. And there's some of the main stands. So I just wanted to kind of show, we were a pretty good company. We got a lot of stuff that we offer. And I'm just going to, I know I'm a little, I'm going to stop right there. This is us as a company. I have a whole bunch of corporate resumes in these folders up here, some business cards. We're growing as a company. We are looking for people. So if you're interested, grab one of the business cards, set up an appointment. You're welcome to come up. BYU is a place that we have not really been targeting for, as a company because we're up in Ogden. That sounds like so far away. But we're trying to expand our reach where this has been great for us to kind of reach out to you guys. We're looking for, what are the 3 core values of HHI? Somebody asked me earlier, what does it stand for? Honesty. So those 3 things, if you see our projects, we kind of illustrate that in everything we've done. When we built the Ebola box, that container, it was something that couldn't be done, and we were working almost around the clock to get that thing done. The epoxy inside of the chamber needed to be flexible. It was we partnered with the company that helped us develop an epoxy during everything else and to dial that in so it would work. So we've done some crazy stuff, and we're just but we're a fun, family-oriented company. Like I said, there's about 135 people work for us, and we do some nice projects. Who has some questions? So can I do questions now, Skylar, or am I good? Questions? Yes.
It's kind of a personal question, but since your parents were the one who came up with the company, as you grew up, did they kind of just groom you to kind of carry on?
I told my dad I was never coming to work for him. So that was part of the deal. I didn't want to come to work for him. He was just building buildings, and I saw the fun, kind of the weird and wild projects. And because I built stuff on this, that we put on the space station. I was a lowly, just college kid, so I wasn't the guy building it. I was the guy cleaning the parts and watching the mechanics build stuff. But I watched that stuff. So I came to work for him, and I saw a need, and my dad and I started partnering up, and we started building the company. And for the last 15 years, so I've been here about 25 years. 10 years I worked for him, and then I just started taking over. And we decided that it was good. What other questions? Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
You seem to do a lot of high value or high risk projects. So do you all ever feel like there's a great danger of lawsuits or anything? And so how do you prepare for those?
Lawsuits. So everybody needs to be sued every now and then. Otherwise, you got a whole legal department that you're training up right here. They don't have anything to do. So risk. It's risk management, I think is a better way to say it. So some people, they see we do these crazy projects that are one of the type. How do you know what price it is? Well, we've done a lot of that type of things before, so we can use engineering judgment and cost judgment to try to figure out what it's going to cost to get something done. And in 47 years, we've never been late on any contract. So we've always been on time. That's tough to do. And especially when you're trying to invent, like that Ebola box, the big box of chips, that was really intense. Super intense. So we try to mitigate our risk. We do have insurance because that's what you got to have. On the design side, so we're a construction company, so we get so focused on how we want to build it, how we want to get it done, that we'll outsource to professional engineering group. That we team together because they're good at aluminum. And we'll go over, we'll do something else that really need the air quality or maybe the structures. So we'll get somebody that's good at a big hangar, and they'll help us with the structure. Now, personally, we can do everything inside of our company, but we choose not to because we want to have somebody double checking us. And it's nice to have that teamwork. That's how we do most of our projects. It's all teamwork, whether it's outsourced. We work with engineers across the country. If they're good at this type of a facility, that's our group. And we're good about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? All right. What else? Give me a hard one. Yes. Good question. So we do 99%, well, 95% of our stuff is design build. So this project I just showed you, we're collaborating with the engineers and architects to do the work. But we've worked with them before, so we work as a team. It's almost like we all just sit around the table. They may have a different label instead of HHI. They have architect or engineer, and we work together. We help them along the direction because we're trying to control the cost, and we work hand in hand. but they'll go through, if it's a mechanical engineer running the water or the HVAC, they'll run through all the numbers and make sure everything's compliant with the RFP. But we talked about it before we put the price in, and then when we get the job, we just continue. And because we've been doing it for a long time, it's almost like second nature. We can figure out how to cool the building with the most cost-effective system, or do a structure that's most cost-effective based on where the climate is or what's going on. So does that make sense? So, but we won't do the engineering in-house. Our team works right along the side. So we'll be 6 months through the design. We'll be right there in the engineer's office, working pen in hand. And then afterwards, and maybe not in their office, but our office or their office, we'll work together. We don't just turn it over and wait for the project to pop out. We're very active all the way through the process. But they're doing the final calculations and such. So some people probably ask, could you be a professional engineer in our company? Yes. We have a lot of professional engineers in our company, and you can work underneath our group and also the guys that we're teaming with. You got a question?
So when you have a project like Europe or outside, if you have a lot of projects going on in other countries, do you send a project manager there? Or do you or do you have your superintendent that you send all the way out there? Or how do you deal with it?
So let's go back to these. I'll show you the picture. So if we're installing something like this, we'll send a team to go install it. Now this looks pretty much like all these engine stands. It would take forever to put together. We did it in 3 days. So we're just there for 4 days. Okay? The 4th day is training and put the labels on. So they go together really fast. So we don't need to go. We'll coordinate with the other countries, but it's basically like a long vacation, except for we're not there that long. Does that make sense? 1 week.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're putting these together. It takes a while to build. It takes about 3 months to build, and then 3 days to install. Any other questions? So inside of our company, we don't like electrical engineers, so if anybody's electrical, you can be offended. So we don't do that. But we have mechanicals and civil. I would say we probably have, I should have counted, probably about 8 to 10 civils and about the same in mechanicals. And then we have probably 20 or 30 construction managers. A lot of our guys have master's degrees. Our vice president, both our vice presidents have master's degrees. One's a structural and a civil engineer, both licensed, and he's got his master's at University of Utah. And then Greg got his master's both in engineering, and then he got an MBA down here at UW as well. So he's got 2. Me, I'm just a bachelor's guy. That's all I got. So I don't know if that answers your question. And so we're looking for people that want to work with us. Any other questions? Okay, I'm moving my stuff up here. Some stuff. Thank you.
One last announcement. Sammy says AREMA, the Railway Club, is having a forum today at 5:30 p.m. in room 404 TV. They'll have J-Dogs and it's an activities point. You're free.